time has finally come to tackle a subject that puts fear into the hearts of all. Pixel art. Wait, that sounds scary. Modern art. Pixel art can be a challenging skill to pick up, especially if you're new to game development, or if you find yourself more as just a programmer. It's easy to look at all the talented artists around you and feel intimidated. To be honest, I still fight that feeling to this day. But here's the dirty little secret. Everyone starts out terrible at art. Wait, no, don't show that. Oh, no. I feel like there's people out there that think that art is some magic mumbo jumbo that only a small group of humans possess. But that's not the case. It's a skill that takes time and practice, and that also has a bunch of objective rules to learn, just like programming. So I thought I would give what I consider my top tips on how to improve your pixel art. So tip your fedoras and let's get started. Tip number 1, find a tool and stick with it. You may have heard me rant about how people jump from game engine to game engine. Well, with art, it's the same exact thing. Find a software you like and stick with it. It doesn't matter if you're using Sprite, Pixel, Paint.net, heck, MS Paint is fantastic. As long as you're using something that feels comfortable, that's all that matters. Because ultimately, the software you use is just a tool, nothing more. It doesn't make the art you do. So if you don't like it, then don't use it. It's as simple as that. Tip number 2, be consistent with your style. This is one of the biggest problems I see that make your game look very amateur. For example, if you have a character that has an outline, but everything else doesn't, but then your background is really detailed and your trees have more shading than your character does, what ends up happening is it doesn't feel like it's all the same world. Instead, it looks like 3 or 4 different artists making pieces, and it ends up feeling really weird. So if you're making a game with outlined characters, make sure that everything in it has an outline. Or if you're using shading, make sure you use the same amount of shades for each object. That way one object doesn't only have one highlight, but another one has 80. Now before you correct me and say that there's a lot of people that mix styles together, this is true. But the difference is they have a really good understanding and they actually create rules for how to be consistent, even though they're matching styles. But if you're just learning and you're trying to improve your art, just stick with one. It's a lot easier that way. Tip number 3, steal everything but don't plagiarize. Now, when I say steal, you get red flags. Everyone starts to panic and they think that I mean taking someone's idea and completely copying everything about it. And what I'm really trying to say about this is be inspired by people. Look at other people's designs, see what you like, and try to create something inspired by it. Now, when I mean don't plagiarize, if someone's making a character or a place, do not directly copy. If it's a winter theme location, don't make an exact winter theme location and just change the colors. That's not being inspired by something. That is just blatantly copying it. If you want to know more what I'm trying to say, there's a fantastic book called Steal Like an Artist that can explain this a lot better than I can. Tip number 4, colors can make or break your art. Other than being consistent, this is one of the most important things you can take away from this video. Color is extremely important. It's the difference between someone buying your game or your piece of art or completely hating it. Now the nuances of color are so crazy that we could fill a whole entire video about it, and maybe in the future we will. But for those of you out there that don't want to sit around and talk about color theory, the best way to improve your art is by using a color palette. Hands down. There's so many great websites. LaSpec is a great one. Or just go on sites like Dribbble or Pinterest. Tip number 5. Block in first, then add detail. It's really easy, especially when you're working on a bigger piece, to focus on just one area and to just keep adding detail and detail. But you're honestly doing yourself a disservice, because if you're only working on these little pieces at a time, your whole design is going to feel very disconnected and just kind of strange. So I recommend when you're making your design to block in everything. If it's a person, don't just make the head, make the body, the legs, the arms, block it in, make it rough. I like to make blobs. Blobs are beautiful. And then equally start adding detail everywhere, because then it'll feel consistent and beautiful and you'll have a shiny, beautiful design. Tip number 6, practice where it hurts. I know a lot of people want to be great at everything when it comes to art, and if that's the case, you have to do the things that you don't want to do. Generally, this is things like backgrounds and tile sets. They're redundant, they're repetitive, you have to know about perspective. It's annoying, I get it. But if you never practice those areas and you just keep making little characters, what happens is you'll have these beautifully designed characters in a really ugly world. And to be honest, you're going to spend a lot more time looking around at the environment than you are if you're a player. So practice those things that are uncomfortable, find videos, study tile sets. The best way is to learn from the masters. If you like Super Nintendo games like Chrono Trigger, study the artwork, see what they did, and then try to apply it to your work. Tip number 7, less is more. I've been there, sitting at my desk, crafting the most beautiful character ever. And then I realized that I have to make the whole game match this character. That's a stressful place to put yourself. Just because you can make a game look hyper realistic and add all the shading and detail doesn't mean you should, especially if you're trying to make a game that you want to produce quickly. Detailed artwork takes a ton of time, and if 1 or 2 pieces in your game look very detailed and the rest don't, it's gonna look bad and people are gonna notice. Tip number 8, don't belittle yourself. This is the number 1 thing that every artist does, every artist suffers from, and you're not doing yourselves any favor. Saying that your work sucks doesn't make you humble or cool. It just belittles the hard work and effort that you put into it. I understand that a lot of this comes out of insecurity, and don't get me wrong, I've been there. But one of my professors once said that if you don't have any faith in your art and you think it sucks, then why should anyone else like it? Now, some people struggle with this because they think it's arrogance, but arrogance is saying that you're better than someone. That's saying, hey, my artwork is better than yours. But really, you need to be confident in who you are and what your artwork is. And confidence is saying, hey, this is me, this is the best that I can do. And I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna get better, but I hope you enjoy it. Art can already be a challenge, so why make it any harder by just insulting yourself all the time? Now, this doesn't mean that you don't get better or you just stay at where you're at. You realize, I want to get better at what I do, but I'm proud of the accomplishment that I've done right now. So there you go, those are my top 8 tips when it comes to pixel art. Now, there are hundreds of different things you can also do to improve your art, but that would make this video go on forever. So if you have any ideas of things that help you as an artist, I would love to hear it and leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification because you get the latest updates on live streams and cool things like that. Anyway, I just want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you here next Wednesday for another game dev adventure.